Fire Your Boss Fridays. I'm your host, Chad Passa, and by my side is my ride or die, Lisa Hart. Now, before we dive into today's episode, let's remind ourselves of our rebel yell to steal our lives back, fire our boss, and live a life full of purpose. It is not just a catchphrase, it's a manifesto for change, a call to action, a beacon for all you entrepreneurs out there who are daring to chase your dreams and disrupt the norm. So, with help of our guest today, Sam Laliberte, we're going to go head first on a crucial question: how to live a liberated life. And I think we have a perfect guest for that. So we're going to bring you insight, stories, strategies, and all the things that are designed to break down barriers, shatter limitations, and open up a world of possibilities. And guess what? She shares this very philosophy. And we've been talking about her, and we've been excited to have her on for weeks. Listeners, this one's for you. Sam, say hi to the audience and tell us how you ended up on this side of the fence of Fire Your Boss.
Ooh, hi, I'm Sam. I am a podcaster myself. My podcast is called The Freedom Lifestyle. And as soon as I saw the title for this show, Fire Your Boss Fridays, I just knew these were people that I needed to know and connect with. And so pitched you right away on, hey, here's my story. Let's see if I can come on and share a little bit of value with your audience, because it sounds like there's a lot of alignment here.
Yeah, a lot of alignment. I'd have to agree with you as well, Sam. And I think that's what made us so excited as well. And it's always nice to align, but there's always, it's always fun to have a little controversy and debate. So let's see if we can find where we don't align, and we'll have fun with that. And let's create some debate today too. So it certainly is impressive how you built a successful community. You got your podcast. It's called Freedom Lifestyle. All these partnerships that you're working on. However, there is some skepticism around the idea of working less and achieving more. Some might say that putting a few hours in every day could hinder the actual success of your business or whatever you're doing. How in the heck do you strike the right balance, Sam? And what's some measurable results you can point out to us that helped you do that?
I think we're really getting to the heart of the topic of trading time for money, and what is that ratio, and can you get to a point with never trading your time? And I definitely think you can. And I've interviewed people like that. I've talked to people who, have built a lifestyle on 100% passive income, and they're now literally waking up, the money's coming in, they're doing all the fun things that don't involve work. And that is definitely possible. I think for me, there is so much of work that I do enjoy, and I have figured out a way to balance that. And so when I think about my revenue streams for the year, I try to have a mix of definitely passive income streams so that I'm not always having to show up at a certain time on a certain date and talk to somebody live in order to make money. But then knowing that I do enjoy that kind of stuff and it does bring me energy, having revenue models that are lucrative and are higher value and higher price point where I am trading my time for money. So that's kind of how I strike that balance, is with multiple products.
That's beautiful. I like how you say that, because the other things that you're doing do create a fire in you, and it kind of creates your purpose, right? Like it shows that you're living every day and you're creating. And I take it you're sort of a creator, and that's the part of it that you love, is just building whatever it is that you're tapping into. Am I correct by saying that?
Totally. Like, I remember when I had a boss before I fired my boss, right? There would be things I was interested in learning about, events that I wanted to go to, people that I wanted to reach out to and have coffees with. And I've always been a very ambitious person. And what I love about being an entrepreneur is you can do all of those things. Like, you can choose what types of things you're learning about, what courses you're taking, who you network with, and all of that can be part of your job. That can all be considered productive, and that can all be considered ways of making money and growing your business. And I love that. And that is something that I've always naturally done. And I don't think I'll ever stop doing that, no matter how much money I make or how much ability I have to kind of not work, essentially.
Mm-hmm. I
Right. It's
like
all
that.
about that growth, like continuous growth, and just,
Mm-hmm.
always educating yourself, expanding your mind. I love that.
So was there anything you had to remove? This question's directly from me. Like, I'm big on like people like to carry around just baggage for days. And it's like, seriously, you don't need that much stuff to be like a beautiful individual. I don't understand these attachments. I mean, I understand some of them, right? But was there anything you had to remove or that you did remove from your space, whether it was a relationship? Obviously, it was your boss. Remove him first or her first. But beyond that, when you're on your journey, did you realize at some point, like, I've been dragging this relationship, whether it's like maybe a car, a house payment, like clothes, like was there something that you felt like at one point you just had to cut the ties on and it wasn't an easy decision?
Mm. So many things. I mean, I've definitely been somebody who's been outgrowing friendships and relationships my whole life. And it's something that honestly has unsettled me at times. So, my husband, he still has the same group of guy friends that went to elementary school together. I'm not kidding. Like they
Oh,
went
wow.
to
Telling the
this
same,
this
telling the
boys
same bad jokes.
school. Yeah, they went to the same all boys school. A bunch of them went to the same university. They live in different places of the world now, but they do their boys trip every year. They go to each other's weddings. They're all standing in each other's weddings. And I don't have that experience. I have one best friend from high school that's been able to be with me through all my evolutions and been able to stay with me as I've changed so many different times of my life. I feel like I'm constantly evolving, and as part of that, I typically leave relationships behind where I feel like I'm going this way now and they either don't like seeing me go that way or that's not where they're heading. And I've had to break up with people, whether it's a romantic relationship or a friendship. And I'm okay with that now. I think that that's part of my journey. And I would rather continue to find people that are like-minded and are more on my wavelength that I'm on right now versus being stuck into who I was in order to kind of maintain relationships that and we all know
In no
what they're like.
disrespect to
You
your
leave
husband, of
feeling
course, right? Like this
yeah,
comment, right? Yeah. Like do what you're doing, but
no
this is my journey.
disrespect.
Yeah, yeah.
Totally. And I mean, I think there's something beautiful about what he has
Amen.
and it's just different.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, this is what works for me.
That was beautifully spoken, by the way, Sam. Well done.
Thanks.
The reason I say that is I probably couldn't put it into words as well as you did, but Lisa and I went on a similar journey. We still are every day. We're breaking away. And I've even sat down with some of my friends and said, listen, I just don't do what we used to do anymore. So just so you know, like, I just don't know how much we're probably going to hang out. And I apologize. Like, I still like you. Right. Like, but
Well, and it's interesting too how I've had some friends where it's like, I'm like, yeah, I don't do that so much anymore. And they're just kind of like, okay. We won't
yeah,
stay in
they
touch
don't, I don't
anymore.
want to
I'm
hang out
like,
with you, right, anymore. What's
okay.
drinking's one of them, right? Drinking and partying is the
Yeah.
classic, right? So
Yeah.
as soon as you don't drink till 2 a.m, like people just like, what? You're not going to party with me? No, I'm not going to party with you. Do you want to come over and play games? They're like, no, they don't want to come over. So, all right, well, then I guess that's the end of it. So, pretty simple breakup. Lisa, I know you had a couple of really cool questions for Sam. Do you want to drop a few on her here? Because I want to hear the feedback she's got. She's doing well today. I'm excited.
Yes. So I noticed that you help people like with freedom and flexibility over their location, schedule, and the
That's
finances.
a big responsibility. Oh man, girl.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? Like, how can someone find this freedom, flexibility over their, like, specifically like finances? I know a lot of people haven't even heard of passive income, so can you maybe elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, first of all, just acknowledging that like freedom trifecta the way I think about it, right? Location freedom. So I can do this work from anywhere, schedule freedom. I can pretty much set up my day how I want it to be. Of course, there's some things like today, we had this interview booked, it was scheduled. And so if something really awesome came up, I probably wouldn't bail on you, but there's other things where I could move my day
Mm-hmm.
around. But for the most part, I'm kind of like deciding how I want to spend my day. I'm not like having fixed hours. And then the third one, financial freedom. So I want to be able to have limitless income. I don't want to be capped at how much money I can make. And I want to be able to invest in my business freely and not always worry about, pinching pennies, which I did do at the beginning, full transparency, when I was starting. And the reason why I really lay out these three is because when I first got into entrepreneurship, I started my first business when I was 22. And I was really excited about being an entrepreneur. And I was so excited about the schedule freedom. And I was no longer going into an office. I was no longer answering to a boss. I had a product based business where I was creating my products and shipping my products. But I found myself, I was always kind of a slave to that business. Like I have a distinct memory of over the Christmas holidays, it was, Christmas Eve or something, and my whole family was doing something. And I was in a room, like creating all of my products, going to the mail to get things out in time and like shipping it. And there was no way I was ever able to go anywhere but near where my product inventory was in the closest mailbox that time of year. And I think this is a trap a lot of entrepreneurs can get into, is where they have an idea for a business, but they don't necessarily think about like, well, what is the lifestyle of somebody operating that
dang.
business?
She hit another one, Lise. Well played, Sam. Yeah.
Right?
Yes, absolutely.
You got to think that through. And so like there's all problems are solvable. Like that exact same business, I could solve for that, right? There is now drop shipping where I could have my inventory be managed by somebody else. An order comes in through my store, it gets produced, it gets shipped. I could outsource 100% of my supply process. All these things are solvable, but you want to think through that business model and what will the lifestyle be for you? Because I think that's why a lot of us get into entrepreneurship, is for the freedom and the ability to fire your boss and do what you want. And we're kind of rebellious and we want to create our own shots. And so you better be setting up your business to do that.
Right.
So that's how I think about those three things. In terms of financial freedom, like I guess I would be curious, what about that do you find your clients or people on the show that you're working with struggle with? Back on you guys.
I think, I think a lot of people, kind of as you described, like people just think, I mean, and even I'm kind of guilty of this myself sometimes, like that I have to do everything, right? Or, and they don't understand the whole concept of passive, like that there is ways to make money, without you being actively involved.
And it's not witchcraft, which most people think like that's not true.
Right.
And I got now passive income has become this. A couple of people I followed, passive income isn't real. And they're, throwing this out there. I'm like, okay, I get it. You feel like it's not, maybe because of your knowledge of the world or the planet, but it does exist. And Lisa and I have experienced it on some levels in our business as well. But I think our listeners, they don't put the map out. And we've actually worked with entrepreneurs directly that they've wanted to do something there. And then, okay, well, what's your real goal then? Let's say this happens and it's everything you dreamed. What's the end result? Right? You want to, are you imagining yourself on a yacht because you started a lawn care business, which is totally fine. I know multi-million-dollar lawn businesses, but what's your end thing that you wanted? And I remember this guy, he was inventing a punching bag type thing. It was digital or whatever. And I was walking him through it. And I said, well, give me the vision if this thing just blows up. And he's like, oh, I want to get a Harley. I want to live in Park City. And I'm like, well, that doesn't sound like a business owner to me, just so you know. Not someone who's going to be selling a product like this. You're going to be very heavily involved. Maybe you'll ride a bike, but quite often a product-based business is going to take a little bit of energy to get off the ground, sometimes years. Like if you're the inventor, I said, how about you just license it and sell it? Just take the cash and move on. Go get your Harley in your house in Park City. He didn't want to do that. And I'm like, well, he basically forfeited his own dream for this delusion that he wanted to be the owner in the business, right? And so I think people don't make that alignment. And it goes similar to what you said, Sam. And so Lisa and I will tell you, like, let's make a spreadsheet. Let's just do 1 year and then let's do 5 years. If all things go well, maybe you won't even make the money you think you're going to. Maybe you'll never even afford to live in a, Park City in $1 million place. Just not even practical. 100% not practical. And here's what I think, and I know I'm long-winded, but to answer your question fully, I think people don't look at what the potential is of the business, but they just start it. And then when they don't hit that potential that they're imagining, this delusion, they feel like a failure. But they're not a failure. If you'd have just done the math first, you'd have known, hey, turn left, not right. you would have just said, no, that's not a good fit. It doesn't align with the thing I want in the end, which in your case, in your conversation, Sam, which was freedom, if that's what you want. If you want freedom and flexibility, some things just don't align with that. You shouldn't even start the project. It's not going to end there, right? Well, generally anyway, and I'm obviously speaking in general here, but we 100% resonate with that philosophy that you shared there. So you can tell, obviously, I have a lot to say about it.
And it really does pain me to see people, quote unquote, fail, right? And failure for a lot of people means going back to the boss and going back to the job. And
You're right.
I mean,
Yeah.
that can happen temporarily. And that I actually think is a very empowering thing. The job market will always be there. There'll always be a boss who's willing to hire
Mm-hmm.
you so that they'll pay you to create their own freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And so, on the one hand, that's awesome because we can take this leap, we can take this risk, and that can kind of be our backup plan as well. I know I'm hireable. I had a job before. I'm confident in myself. I can just go back and get a job if it doesn't work. But it does pain me to see people, quote
Mm-hmm.
unquote, fail because what I worry about happens is you lose your confidence in you ever being able to make this work. When the reality is
The
you
dream
just had to
dies.
think about it more strategically, right? It sounds like that's your friend's examples too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and even just for, just to pencil it out. I mean, you don't even need a spreadsheet, like what do you want to achieve? I mean,
Right.
$75,000 a year is what, 25% of the entire population that make over that, right? And get this, the digital nomads make, what is it, 120,000 on average
Those are cool stats. I haven't heard those.
a year
Versus 55.
versus 55 for the typical 9-to-5er. And those are legit statistics we just looked up today. And the reason we looked them up is because most of the people in the country, like there's only 25% that make over 75,000 a year, or I think it's 70 possibly. I may have that number off, but these types of statistics kind of tell you like you have to live a different life to get this different result, which means 75% of your friends or your circle aren't going to be you. If you want to live in that 25 percentile, that means most of your friends won't live the life you do. And I say this, and I might even said it before, but like to have a six pack, like that person lives a way different life than you. They might show up at some of your events that are the same, but everything else they do, probably 90% of their life is different than yours if you don't have a six pack. What they eat, what they think about, what they watch, what they do, everything about their life. Same thing with entrepreneurs. Your life will look different if you start making over 100K than almost everyone else that you know or ever knew, period. And that's a real thing. It's lonely is what they call it. People don't think like you. People don't talk like you. What's your thoughts on that, Sam? Like that was something we talked about at the beginning, like how you said those relationships. I think that's why you have to break away because you don't think like that anymore. You can't. If you did, you'd be stuck
And
there.
you have to be so careful with that. Like I find the issue I'm in, and this is why I do things like this. This is why I listen to podcasts. I try to connect with people like you who get it, because the places I want to hang out are typically like really small towns where there's beautiful nature and I can just do sports and relax and live this idyllic lifestyle. And it's changing, but those towns usually aren't filled with super successful, ambitious entrepreneurs. And so I find myself really struggling to relate to people in the physical communities I'm in. And I find myself being embarrassed about my success.
Oh
Like
my
I actually
gosh. Wow,
find
that's
when
heavy.
people, yeah, like I actually feel like I don't want to make anybody feel bad or worse. And I'll give
Inferior.
you
Yeah.
the example I'm in right now is I'm in a small mountain town where everyone's here for sports. There's rock climbing, there's highlining. We've got the best ski resort in all of Canada within a 20-minute drive. There's kite surfing. So people are here for the adventure, as am I. But the way most people are doing it is living in their vans and doing this lifestyle full time. And for me, like I like to do this lifestyle like 3 times a week, and I own my house and, me and my
Mm-hmm.
partner are double income entrepreneurs and I'm, traveling to 6 countries a year. And I find that is challenging for me is being around people who aren't doing that. And it feels like I have to kind of dim myself often
Oh
because
my
I don't want to
God,
make
that was
anybody
the
feel
heaviest
uncomfortable.
thing you've said. Holy cow. I've caught myself doing that too. And now that you say it,
And
I'm
that's a
like,
problem, right? That's a problem. I
yes.
want to be
Yeah.
with people
Oh
who
yeah.
I'm like, shit, they're triggering me because
Yeah, fire
they
me.
have something
And
I
then
don't have.
yeah. But well
Hmm.
said again, Sam. Dang, that is a bomb for sure. And that can
Well, I
happen
think
in,
that's
go ahead,
sorry, go
Lisa.
ahead.
No, fire away.
I think that's like kind of one of my questions. I feel like a lot of people think, oh, well, if I'm going to do this, I have to really like slim pickings and, live in the van and have one outfit to wear. And you know what I mean? Like,
Well, I
um,
used to say that. Yeah. Well, and sometimes I do because I do believe in some things, but go ahead, Lisa.
yeah, you're definitely into you got to minimize things. But I think, would you say, like, I mean, you can, like you mentioned, you do still have a house, you can still have things. And yeah, it doesn't have
That's a
to
common
necessarily
misconception, is
be,
what you're saying, right?
yeah.
Yeah, I think you can have anything. You probably can't have everything. And that's just like a mantra that I've just kind of always had in my mind. And I could even question that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I probably could have everything if I really wanted. But it's that idea of, what is your rich life? What are your things that are important to you that you're going
Mm-hmm.
to either invest your time or your money in? And what are the things that, if you're really being honest, when you think back on your year, like that's not a core memory, that's not a highlight. And I feel like for some people, that is just a great place to start. Like when I first left my job and
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
started a service based
Mm-hmm.
business, the first thing I did is I looked at my expenses from the last 6 months. I saw how much I was spending on Ubers. I saw how much I was spending on happy hours. I saw how much I was spending on restaurants, shopping, whatever, entertainment, and I decided what things didn't matter right now. And reducing your costs
Mm-hmm.
can be like the first step, right? I'm now in a position
Yeah.
where
Mm-hmm.
I can do those things, but I'm so happy I have the habits now of like, well, do I really need to do all of those things? I work hard for my money. I'm really proud of this business I built. Am I
Yeah.
going to throw it away on a
Go,
$20
sister.
cocktail?
Yeah.
It's like I
Mm-hmm.
could,
So
but like
deciding
I
what's
won't.
what's essential
Mhm.
now.
Yeah. Essential. Yeah.
And that is a
Mm-hmm.
habit that
Yeah.
no matter
Mm-hmm.
how successful you are, I think you should get into, because it's like, should I invest this $20 in an
Mm-hmm.
ETF or a stock or something for my future that creates passive income?
Mm-hmm.
Or do I just drink it with a cocktail that's like probably not as good of one as I could make anyway? And I'm not going to remember it at the end of the year. It's just literally
Yes.
going to
Amen.
be a waste.
Yeah.
And that looks different for everybody, what those trade offs are. For me, it really was just like fancy, expensive cocktails that I didn't care anymore about that kind of stuff.
Wow. She's blown my
Yeah.
mind, Lise. What do you think? Isn't she
Right?
amazing?
Oh yeah.
Listen,
Yes,
you are
definitely.
fire today, and I love it. Mostly because you're just validating the part of my soul that very rarely do we have to get to talk about these things in depth. And I love that you're putting it in your words and it's not coming out of my mouth, because I'm usually the one preaching this stuff. And I just love it how it's coming out of you. And I think you're definitely speaking to our listeners for sure. Because would you agree that it's a possibly like what I always say, and tell me if you could validate this one too, is just curious. Do you feel like it's just a faster way to get to where you're going? And the reason you minimized right back then, you looked at your bills, you're like, listen, I could do this, but why not do it faster? Right? If I can just cut the weight, cut the load, and eventually you get to this place, right? So the real reward is that you do finally get the freedom to where it isn't holding you back anymore, because it's not. But then it is. In the original story, way back when, it is actually a liability. And the way that I look at it is identify the dream, okay? And then anything that doesn't align with that dream, right? If it's a liability, it's not an asset to you. And so if you can just do that one, like you said, a trifecta, which is the dream, the liability, and the asset, and just make those decisions. I mean, I like the way you said it. Actually, it seemed a little softer way to attack it, but I love that you told that story. It was beautiful. So what is your take on that? It's just a faster way to get to where you want to go, maybe to your goal or your dream?
Yeah, I think like whenever I'm trying to hit the next goal or next milestone, whether it's I have an idea for a course and I know if I create this course and I just do the work and I sit at home for 2 weeks and I build it and I sacrifice everything to do that, well, for the next 5 years, that could be monthly passive income. Like that's a very concrete example of the concept of short-term focus, short-term discipline, maybe even short-term sacrifice, if that word isn't like negative association for you, for longer term gain and like future
Mm-hmm.
freedom, future winning. And at the beginning, for me, that was money, because I'm not like start a side hustle slowly over time, and then eventually once I've confirmed everything is going to perfectly work out, then I'll take the leap. I'm like, I have to go all in. And so for me, my short-term sacrifice was, I'm not willing to have a job and build a business on the side. I want to go all in on this. I want to live and breathe it. I want to think about it. I see the value of being like having one thought at all times and focusing on this and having that like focus. And so for me, the short term sacrifice was my spending. Right
Yeah.
now, 6 years into this lifestyle, I'm really trying to be more of a public speaker. I have my next dream of being a high paid motivational speaker, traveling around the world, sharing my story, empowering people. But unfortunately, that means I can't really go to Costa Rica or Bali or any of these places that I want to this fall, because I need to sit at home, focus. I need to go to events in the US and the Canada. And I'm making that sacrifice right now for the fall and not traveling and staying at home and getting this done. Even though I'd love to be on a beach during rainy season, I'm going to make that
Mm-hmm.
sacrifice, knowing that if I do this, I'm going to be closer to the next dream, and I'm going to have more freedom and flexibility later. And like,
Oh
that's something I'm
my
always kind of
gosh.
doing.
I love it. Wow. Doesn't that make you laugh just a teeny bit, Lise?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is. We literally had that same conversation about this year,
Uh-huh.
Sam. That is so wild. We were like, okay, yes, we'd love to be on the beach, but we got to put our heads
Yep.
down. We got this podcast. I'm obviously looking to become a speaker. I was a performer for 20 years, but we resonate on so many levels. It's beautiful.
Yeah, we
I'm just like,
100%. Yeah, same path. Like, we're like, okay, we got to stay home, focus, get this, these things up and rolling more, and then, yeah, make that
well, it
sacrifice
just
for the greater
validates
good.
Lise, doesn't it? Yeah, Lisa, doesn't it validate to hear her story? I mean, we clearly don't know each other, right?
Yeah.
But the fact that we're running these similar paths and they're both working.
Yes.
Listen up, listeners. This is two different storylines from two different people from that are running a similar path, that are getting the good results, right, from it, and we're aligning on these levels. So, and it isn't about doing it an exact thing. It's just about creating that alignment with that long-term goal. They did this study, guys, that where they took these kids and they studied them for their whole lifetime to their careers, and they tested them on the matter if they put candy in front of them. They said, if you eat this candy right now, you can't have candy later. Right. And then the kids that ate it right away, couldn't resist, actually had lower incomes and smaller retirements, and they were compulsive. Right. So what they learned, the ones that did wait for the bigger prize and held out, actually had bigger savings, more retirement, better investments. And they just wanted to see if this philosophy was true. And that experiment kind of is validated by Sam today. So I love that. That's awesome. So for our listeners, look that story up. This is backed by science, and Sam's living it. She's out there doing it, and we love hearing her success. And I cannot wait for this next level for you, Sam. So you're going to be pushing this year. You're hoping for some big events. So if anyone's listening, and you and your team or someone in your group is looking for some, not only motivation, but aligns with Sam's story, can they book you on Instagram? I think I saw a link where they could book
Totally.
you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd love that. Send me a DM. Let's talk. I would love that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. The only reason I wouldn't want to be on the same stage as you, because we'd probably be talking about the same stuff. It's like,
But that's
wait,
good
didn't she just
too.
say that? No, wait, Chad just said, wait, hold on. That would be funny. But yeah, I think it's really cool. And you are well spoken. I think you're going to do fantastic. And you're a cutie, man. You're going to be irresistible up there. So
I hope
you're
so.
going to
We'll
have no
see.
trouble owning it on stage. So
Thank
do
you.
you have another question, Lise, there? Because I got all mine out today already. So
I actually did have another question. So you mentioned you have a husband, right?
I do.
Does he work
Is he
remote?
real?
Or does he work remotely as well? And what challenges are there like for couples that want to do this together?
Well, I think there's so many opportunities for couples who do. I think a big challenge I'm hearing and seeing from digital nomads is dating.
Mhm.
Is they're single, they want to still have this lifestyle traveling the world, but it's really hard to meet somebody and find somebody. And so they end up stopping that lifestyle, moving to a big city, hoping to find their mate, hoping to find their partner. Or one person has freedom, the other person doesn't. And so one person's making a sacrifice. That's like very common. I'm so grateful that my partner and I essentially took the leap together. I went first. He had a job with unlimited vacation. He was working at Uber in San Francisco, and I had a 9 to 5, like minimum vacation, no work from home policy. So I
Mhm.
ditched that. And he started seeing how I was, coming to visit him in San Francisco with my laptop working. We would go on trips together where he would have his unlimited vacation. I wouldn't be stressed about anything. And so he got really inspired and left his office job and became a remote worker. So he is full time COO at a pretty big tech company, Safety Wing, shout out. And he has location freedom, but I wouldn't say he has schedule freedom. So honestly, it's one of our biggest fights is like all of his recurring calls and meetings. And we're constantly working around his Monday meeting. And then he has his 2 hour Thursday meeting. And I'm like, oh, can you change this up a little bit? So he actually really has inspired me to think about, okay, it has to be more than location freedom. If
Mhm.
you are able
Right.
to work from Bali, but you're spending the entire day on your laptop inside and working on weird time zones, like, do you really have freedom?
Right.
So yeah, we do fight about it a lot, but we're making progress.
Yeah.
It sounds like what I'm hearing is you both inspire each other to level up and also support each other in that process, and you're taking turns doing that. And that was us. Like when I first started dating him and we were long distance and he had unlimited vacation, all this freedom, like I was the dead weight. I wasn't making that much money. I didn't have that much schedule freedom. So like he would want to go on these big trips and go to Burning Man and all these music festivals, and he was like always introducing me to all these fun things. And I would always have to be the like, oh, well, I don't know, can I budget it or can I take that time off work?
Mhm.
And I was kind of the dead weight. And he has really supported me in starting my own business, increasing my rates, like pushing me to charge more, bought me my first podcast mic when I had this vision of starting my podcast and this idea. And now the tables are turned where he's a little bit of the dead weight. And I'm over here being like, there's a better way to do this. There's even more freedom out there. Like it's pretty good what you got, but it's even bigger. And now I'm really coaching him and holding space for him and helping empower him to think of himself as more as just a worker and helping him see his potential. And like, I think that's beautiful to take the turns like that.
Wow. This is the ups and downs, isn't it? Right? What we're talking about here, guys, listen up. It looks pretty, but it can get messy. And right, there's this give and take, and you guys are building something huge, right? And you have bigger goals and aspirations. That's the whole point, right? I know that does really align with, I swear to God, I swear we're like twinners or something, some cosmic twinners. But I really I want you to know it's been an amazing conversation. Like everything about it, I can't honestly, in all the guests we've had, this one has
Aw.
aligned so well. I can't even find any controversy. I'm like, okay, how can we find a spot where we don't align? I'm like, okay, what look in your notes here, Chad. What is she this, that, and the other? But man, you are so cool. And I guess I have to say that because I'm trying to build the coolest life I can, right? And on my own, with my wife, and you and your husband are doing the same. And it looks like, another thing we have in common, we found out before the meeting, listeners, this is top secret information, by the way. There's this, I shouldn't tell everyone about Puerto Viejo, but here goes, because we don't want everyone to show up there. But you have to take like a 4-hour bus ride to get to this side of Costa Rica, guys. And just coincidentally, before we got on the call, Lisa looked at Sam's Instagram. She went to Puerto Viejo, and nobody goes there, right? Like you have to really want to go there to go there. And we literally both love Puerto Viejo. And so it's just been an amazing podcast. So it's been cool. I don't even know what to say. You can tell I'm kind of at a loss for words, huh, Lise? I'm sort of stuttering. I'm like, it's so weird, all the crazy stuff and the alignment. So I didn't believe there was another human out there like us. I thought we were
We're
weird,
slowly
now
taking over. We're coming
forward.
out the
Right?
woodwork. We're
Yeah.
like, oh, it's
isn't
okay.
it? Right? It's a
It
movement.
is. Yeah. I mean, society will really push you to follow the crowd and to do what everyone's doing. And, you're conditioned to want to be like everyone else from a young age. So the more people that are showing that there's other ways to do it and it's okay to admit that you don't want this standard lifestyle, then
Mm-hmm.
this will be the mainstream, So
Right.
I think we're part of a movement for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, it's not for everyone though. It's not for everyone. Why do I know that? Because people ask all the time, Chad, how do you guys do it? And then I go, oh, and I start talking. About 15 minutes in, they're like, no, I could never do that. I could never do that. Right. Because especially one of the funny ones is like women, you're like, okay, well, I was lucky enough to have a woman who didn't have a shoe collection that you couldn't transport around the country without a 18 wheeler, So some women, I'm stereotyping, of course, but have a lot of clothes, a lot of shoes. That's a hard thing to give up. You can't be transient in the world with that much stuff, or I guess you could, but it's not easy in the beginning. So you're hindering your transition from the traditional to this rebellious life that Sam's talking about. Hey, listen, guys, just make those, lack of a better term, sacrifices. Really, just lighten your load. The thing you want, just ask yourself. Here's how I phrase it. Just ask yourself the thing that you want and that you've painted that picture in your brain. Would you take all your physical belongings and trade it right now for that thing? And if you would, there you go. You got your answer. That's what you're trading it for. You're trading it for that end result. So go get it, guys.
Go get it.
How are we doing so far, Sam? We taking good care of you? You were worried. You wanted a list of what we were going to come after you with, but it's been good so far, don't you think?
It is. I actually have a rule that I broke for you, which is that I will not go on someone's show or be interviewed without questions because I had a really bad experience once.
Oh,
and you own this content.
Can we
I don't
share
know what
it,
you're gonna do.
Sam? Is it?
Well, it's a controversial discussion that I didn't want to be getting into, which it's like as soon as you start that, you're like, oh, let's see what we can debate about. I just said, oh my God, is this about to happen again? But yeah, the person.
Oh no, Chan's coming after you. She's coming for my soul.
Yeah. 2020 was a difficult time for people who were advocating for location independence and travel and freedom when everyone was telling you freedom is bad. Like, do not
Stay
move,
home.
stay home. You are
Yeah.
selfish. And so I found myself I got into an intense debate, and I was like, this isn't even part of my personal brand. I don't even want to be associated with this conversation. Why are we talking about vaccines? Like, I'm just out here trying to empower people. I'm coming from such a good place. And so, yeah, I said I would not do that. But then, and I was thinking, I was going to email you again today being like, where are the questions? And I just said, you know what? This title of this podcast, Fire Your Boss Fridays, I'm just going to roll with it. I feel like these are my people. And yeah,
nice.
I'm so happy
we won
I did.
Her heart.
Thank you.
We won her heart. We have Sam. And we feel like we're part of your tribe as well. I mean, I think it's something we were a part of long before we came to this podcast, which is really, really cool. And I know there's more of us out there, and we might even be inspiring some right now listening today. So, we're TikToking on time here, and we don't like our podcast to be, an 8-hour episode. So Sam, we might have to have you on again. And the reason I would want is I want to see how this new push is coming for this year. I'd love to see how your speaking events are going and your new challenges and your husband's journey, right from kind of the position you talked about today, play around with that. I'd love to see how it's all blossoming for you guys as well. And maybe we'll do a retreat in Costa Rica, guys. Keep your eyes peeled. We'll be dropping some, wouldn't it be? Absolutely. Like a path to purpose kind of retreat, right? Help these people find their passion. So, but before we wrap it up, I want to extend a huge heartfelt thank you to our remarkable guest, Sam. Your insight into these topics have certainly ignited an understanding of what we believe in, but just validated for us. And it's been great. Your journey is a beacon of inspiration for these listeners, hopefully, and you've shown them how to break free. You're doing it. You're living it. So it's not only possible, it's a reality for some of us. So just know, get out there, do it. As we conclude this episode of Fire Your Boss Fridays, let me leave you with these empowering words from Maya Angelou. Is that correct? Okay, thank you, Lisa. Maya Angelou. These are big words. So success is liking yourself, liking what you do, and liking how you do it. If you find those things, you are there, people. You made it. Put your hands in the air and do a little dance because you found it and you found yourself. So stay authentic. Don't let the world twist you up because it will chew you up and spit you out. This is Chad. I'm bidding you a farewell from Fire Your Boss Fridays. Thank you, Sam. You are so cool. Thanks, Lise, for all your cool questions for Sam. If you want to say bye to our listeners, Sam, fire away. Drop an Instagram. Do what you got. We're going to get on out of here. What do you got for us, Sam?
That's it. Enjoy your freedom, freedom seekers. Until next time, fire your boss.
Fire your boss. Yeah, amen. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.